Welcome to Paranormal Talk Radio with your host, KB. Brought to you each week by Kevin Shork, attorney at law. And now here's your host, KB.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is KB. We just don't talk to talk like the other guys. We walk the walk because we're Richmond investigators of the paranormal. And I tell you what, we got a lot of great things coming up in the next couple of weeks. Next weekend, we got a day in the park here in Ashland, Virginia, and one on the other side of Hanover County at the Paul Green Park. And the other one slips from mine, but I'll remind you all later about that. And bring the kids out. It's going to be a lot of fun. They're going to have food, candy, games, trick-or-treating, the whole 9 yards. And, hey, look, they're going to even have a drive-in, can you believe this? A drive-in movie theater out there with these guys. So, mom and dad, you can bring the car out there. You can throw the trunk up. You can throw the kids in the trunk. Mom and dad, you can even get up, put a little something on the ground to have a good time. But like I said, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And we got a lot of great things coming up. Hey, tomorrow night, we definitely got something coming up. We'll be at the Edgewood Plantation, Richmond investigators of the paranormal, and myself, KB, along with a very special guest, world-known Wilbur Allen, the top-of-the-line UFO paranormal research investigators. And we got a lot of great things to talk about tonight. And on the line, not on the line, what am I saying that for? Calvin's looking at me on the line. I got Wilbur Allen sitting here right beside me, looking dapper. And I got my producer, Kevin. He looks a little under the weather, but he's going to be okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me, Ken.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Wilbur Allen. I'm a UFO researcher, and I started researching UFOs technically in the year 2002 when I had a close encounter at the U.S. Capitol building. And I looked into the technology to the possibilities of the technology to capture UFOs, right. And I found a technology that was used by NASA in space. And I applied that technology to my work in the field of UFO research.
Well, you have a lot of other things going on also. You do some television stuff, help out.
I've got 3 shows actually on the market right now. I've got My Big Redneck Vacation on Country Music Television.
That sounds like Calvin.
And I've got Uncovering Aliens on the Discovery Science Channel, American Heroes Channel, and Animal Planet. And on NBC Universal, the Weather Channel, I've got Twisted Believers Tornado Alley.
That's how I'll tell you. Tornado Alley, I've watched a few of those, and them things are interesting and all that. And like I said, we got some great stuff to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about an Area 51, and a lot of people don't know about an Area 52. And we're going to be talking about all aliens among us. Well, we're going to find out tonight. And he's got a website, which is UFODC.com. Yeah, I don't scratch on that piece of paper there from my ink pen. But yeah, so we'll be talking a lot of things that explain to people the technology and some of the equipment that you might use in your research.
Well, I looked at what NASA was using in space, and right now at the International Space Station, NASA is using a D3S Nikon, which is 51,000 ISO. Well, I'm using a D4 and D4S, which are 204 800 ISO and 409 600 ISO, which is extremely sensitive type technology. In fact, it's in the same par as the Hubble telescope in terms of its overall sensitivity. So I'm using this technology, which is essentially full color night vision, to document, as we saw tonight, anomalous objects.
Yeah, we sure did.
Which are 100% consistent with what we saw tonight.
Yeah, like I said, the first one I've ever seen, I've seen the cigar-shaped object in there many years ago when I was a young lad. I was about knee-high to a grasshopper. And the night he was out doing his thing, and first one I've ever seen, it actually, to me, it went by so fast, it looked like in the mid of the air, like a flashlight, zoom, it went by that fast. And like I said, that's the first one I've ever seen, and I was totally amazed, because you spotted it, you told me about it, then I turned around and looked, and I saw it, and I was totally amazed. Now, this technology that you'll be using, will this be the same technology that we'll be using on the Edgewood Plantation for the?
Oh, it is exactly the same thing we're going to be using, because what I have here is a technology that has an extremely sensitive. Its sensitivity to light is extraordinary, and it does not require any light at all to actually take a photograph. And I'm basing that on the fact that if there is indeed paranormal energy in that area, that energy will translate into some sort of light. and the camera will definitely pick it up.
Well, I'm amazed. Like I said, we're doing something that nobody else has ever done before, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually doing a UFO research investigating tonight, tomorrow night, and a paranormal investigation all at the same time. It's never been done. And this is totally new, and it's fascinating. I'm really excited about it.
No, we saw firsthand that there is indeed activity in this area, and the airspace that we're in, which was above your home, clearly indicated that whatever those anomalies are, if I'm being followed, it definitely showed itself up.
Well, I'm telling you what, I'm glad they're following you instead of me, because I don't know if my nerves can stand it. Tell the people a little bit about Area 51. I know you've been out there.
I did a big redneck vacation, and they hired me to lead the expedition into Area 51. And it was really interesting because I was not interested in the base itself. I was more interested in the airspace. And in the airspace, I documented these two anomalies that looked like sperm cells. And they slithered like snakes as they flew through the air. And I documented that. What was even more abstract is that one of the anomalies communicated to me telepathically and instructed me to leave the desert immediately.
Told you to leave?
Leave immediately. And within 1 minute of getting back to my crew van, 80 security personnel from Area 51 arrested my crew.
Whoa.
So the aliens warned me of the humans.
So you have this contact with aliens, and I guess it's mental telepathy. What do you call it? Mental.
It's telepathic
That's
communication.
it. That's the word.
Exactly.
See, my tongue got kind of swollen up there, so I couldn't think of that. But yeah, I find that fascinating. So you actually left the site. Your crew members got locked up, and you
within 1 minute.
Within 1 minute.
1 minute of this anomaly warning me to get out the desert. So we documented all of that. What's even more abstract is an hour later at the hotel, I set my camera behind my hotel room window, and I said, well, okay, show yourself to me. And it appeared on video. Instantaneously.
Now, your research takes you, I guess, all over the world, because I know you've traveled all over the world, and I do know this. Now, what's your opinion on aliens back thousands of years ago? Do you think
they're here?
They're here?
They've been here. They've been here. And all of the cave drawings and all of those things that indicate types of extraterrestrials which look exactly like the grays that we're familiar with from 5,000 and 10,000 years ago, that says to me that these aliens have been here. So we're just now starting to see the realities of the other life forms that are indeed in our galaxy.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've seen some of the drawings and things like that, and it would amaze me that how did these people thousands of years ago would draw a man in a spacesuit, like similar suits that our astronauts wore back in the 60s when John Glenn and everybody went to space, and they had they look like the same type of headgear and things like that.
Well, it's interesting, if you look at some of the Egyptian hieroglyphics, and it's interesting that in some of those drawings that are in those pyramids, it looks like there is technology that's used today by the United States military drawn on those walls. So it makes you think about the possible technology that the U.S. military is using in terms of time travel technology, which it could be very well indeed in use right now in our civilization. So we just don't know about it.
A lot of people that heard the name before called wormholes. Explain what a wormhole is.
Well, it's interesting. That was one of the things that my partner, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, who was the lunar module pilot for Apollo 14, discussed in a lecture I had in Princeton 2 years ago. And basically, what it is a form of travel in which these extraterrestrials are using a technology which enables them to travel millions of miles in a short period of time. And it essentially brings point A and point B together. And in theory, it's called a wormhole. And it is indeed a reality based on the samples that I'm able to obtain over my home on a nightly basis, 7 blocks from the White House.
Now, over the White House, you and I were talking earlier part of the day. We're talking about the 1950 movie that came out. The
Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that happened in D.C., you have had similar experiences in D.C. with photographs, which I've seen, that looks like, wow, it's happening all over again. And the technology, it makes you wonder, how did these producers of these shows decide something like this? Like you had Gork the robot, and they talked about laser beams and things like that. And there, what I understand is that laser beams are being used in that effect. And
well, a lot of that, it's almost science imitating life. And in reality, what the deal is most of the technology that we're using today is actually a spin-off from Roswell. Cell phone technology, optic fiber, laser technology, integrated circuits. All of those technologies that we think are made by man are essentially assimilated from crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft.
I've had people ask me before, how could you tell, or if you think your neighbor, or like Calvin, for instance, how could I tell if he's an alien? Because, we were talking earlier about the elongated neck, the big head, the big eyes, and the whole 9 yards, and the hair. I mean, I know some aliens don't have hair, nothing like that, but I guess Calvin could be an exception.
Well, it's almost impossible to actually gauge who an alien is, especially if we look at what's in the Bible, for example. Those people that were mystical and had power.
Right.
Their atomic structure had to be completely different. And to me, it says that those people were indeed extraterrestrials.
Like a lot of people, you got to understand one thing. Back in the day, the chariots of fire, people that we talked about the last
Star
week.
of Bethlehem was a mothership.
And we talked about chariots of fire last week on another show. And I tried to explain to the guys, I said, look, chariots of fire is the way that back then they was a form of transportation. So when they say, well, look, we saw a chariot of fire in the sky, that's the way they describe the UFO.
Consider they didn't have a sense of technology, and 5,000 years ago, for a person to see a UFO, it is a completely different perception than a person today seeing a UFO, because we're more technologically enhanced. But 5,000 years ago, a person seeing a UFO would think it was completely something else.
Yeah, another question was brought to us last week. We talked about different shapes, sizes of these ships. I've heard people say they've seen ships as big as 2 miles long or wide, and some. It makes me wonder, why are the different ships? Are some of them warships, or are they?
It's just like the differences in cars that we have on Earth. I mean, there's a very strong possibility that the various technologies that are out there and the aliens that are there are indeed using different kinds of spacecraft.
I'll tell you what. Hey, don't go anywhere. We got some bills that got to be paid, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, and this is KB, where we just don't talk the talk like the other guys. We walk the walk because we're Richmond investigators of the paranormal. And right here beside me tonight, live into the studios, I have Wilbur Allen. Wilbur?
Thank you for having me here, and I thank WHAN, AM and FM, for allowing us to do the show.
Hey, I'll tell you what, it's a fun thing. Hey, while on the break, we were talking about Betty and Barney Hill, 1963 or 62?
62.
62. And Betty and Barney Hill were going down this road, I want to say Georgia, but if I'm wrong, you correct me.
I think it was New Hampshire.
New Hampshire? See, there we go.
Yes.
I'm corrected. And they came across this, I guess, a ship that was following them. And next thing you know, they lost time of memory.
Well, it's interesting. I know Kathy Martin, who is Betty Hill's niece, and Kathy gave me some pictures that were taken by Betty of an anomalous object that came out of the sky in front of her. And it was interesting that the anomalous object that she photographed was 100% consistent with the green objects that I photographed at the U.S. Capitol building July 16, 2002, which, by the way, the objects I photographed then were imaged in space by Apollo 7, Apollo 11, and Apollo 14. So we were able to connect the dots using Apollo astronauts to show without a doubt that the objects that I encountered at the U.S. Capitol building on the 16th of July in 2002 were indeed extraterrestrial, and they landed on the Capitol.
Landed on the Capitol.
They landed.
Oh, you know what? It's like I said. A lot of these guys, they got to protect their income, their retirement, and I know for a fact, and you do too, that some of the astronauts have come out publicly and admitted that there are.
Well, Dr. Mitchell, for one, and so did not Edgar Mitchell, but Buzz Aldrin from Apollo 11, and it was indeed Buzz Aldrin's footage from outside the command module, which Neil put the nail into the coffin in terms of the validation of the anomalous objects that I photographed at the U.S. Capitol building. And
some of these objects that he has filmed, it's unreal. Like I said, you need to go to UFODC.com and check these things out. I mean, these things are amazing. I was on he sent me something about a couple weeks ago, and I'm still flabbergasted by it. He did some videos taping of the space, the heavens. And I was amazed that he was filming in two different segments. He would show two different things. One was in color, the other was in black and white, where you could actually see this rotation in space, and he would flip it over to the black and white. You could see it even even much clearer. But the thing what got me was when he flipped it back, this object looked like it came out of a vortex or wormhole, whatever you want to call it, and it shot like, now we all know if it was a meteor, the meteor's coming straight down. This object came out on a horizontal level and shot straight up. And then, like I said, if it was a meteor doesn't shoot to come out.
You have to look at the randomness associated to meteors and shooting stars, and it's random. What I'm getting shows frequency, which means that there is a very strong possibility that indeed there's either an extraterrestrial base or a cloaked mothership in orbit above Earth.
Now, I know you do a lot of filming up in D.C., and like you said, you're about a block or two away from the Capitol. And
the White House.
The White House. And it amazes me that the government they know something's going on.
Well, they're withholding information, and I believe what they feel is that if humans would find out that aliens are here, it would destabilize society and the way things are right now. But as things are going, the society is already destabilizing.
It was like Conspiracy Theory. That show ran for almost a year, maybe 2 years, and the former governor, his show is no longer on the air.
Well, he scared people,
yeah.
And you have to worry about that because the government is designed essentially to pull the wool over your eyes, and what they want to do is keep you
in the dark.
In the dark.
Yep.
The less information you know, the better off you are. But the realities are, on a nightly basis, I'm capturing the same objects that I captured in Area 51, the same objects I captured in Sedona, the same objects I captured in Shreveport, the same objects I captured in Indianapolis. I'm capturing them nightly over my home.
I tell you what, speaking of Shreveport, back in April coming up, myself and Wilbur Allen, they're doing a movie called Shook 'em. They hunt for Bigfoot. The first movie should be coming out within a month or two, but in April they're having a part 2. Wilbur has been invited to come down to Louisiana with his equipment, which has never been used before, and we'll be doing I'll be playing myself, KB, the Paranormal Talk host guy, and I'll be interviewing some of the Louisiana people, and we'll be talking about the Bigfoot, and of course Wilbur, he's going to be there with the scientific information, and it's going to be great. We got some more bills to pay, so we got about a minute to go. But the producer said we got about a minute to go, so we'll be doing that. And like he said, up in D.C., he's filmed a lot of things on a nightly basis, and like I said, you need to go to his website, ufodc.com, and check these things out. It's totally amazing. And we will come back in a few minutes after this break, and we're going to be talking more about Betty and Barney Hill, and then we're going to talk about ETs. And I believe we're about ready to go for a break, so don't go anywhere. Keep it where you got it. We got some bills to be paid.
Don't go away, there's more to come on Paranormal Talk Radio with KB. A Look at News is next.
Hey, welcome back. I'm KB, and in the line studios with me, live and in person, I got Wilbur Allen right here with me tonight, and I'll tell you what, this is a fascinating show. The information and things that he's putting out there is definitely unreal. And if anybody wants to give us a call on the Paranormal call line, that's area code 804-4. I'm going to give you the other line. Area code 804-798-1010. Again, that's area code 804-798-1010. And I think my producer's telling me that
Sherry.
We got Sherry on the line with us. Sherry, good afternoon.
Hey, how are you, KB?
Doing great. And I got Wilbur right here. I'm sure you got some questions you'd like to ask him.
Well, first of all, I wanted to welcome Wilbur to Hanover. And I wanted to say that I have watched every show that he mentioned that he's involved with.
Thank you.
Earlier. Amazing shows.
Thank you.
I have been sitting here with goosebumps hearing about July 16th in the Capitol.
Right.
Because I was born in Alexandria on July 16th. So that gave me goosebumps and chills. And knowing what I know from a friend whose relative worked at Area 51 and was privy to a lot of paperwork and whatnot, up until a point when she witnessed movement of items in a body. And as the story went on, there was a whole lot of problems. She ended up losing her job losing her home, losing her identity, and it became a big bunch of trouble for her. So there's no question Area 51 has always intrigued me.
Well, they've been holding the fact that it is indeed an extraterrestrial base, and they're trying to make a joke of it. And in fact, the president made a joke about Area 51, but it wasn't funny.
And my question for you is, did you ever have any personal experiences before that time that you?
I was visited by, my family was visited by extraterrestrials in a base in England called Sculthorpe in 1962. At the same time, Betty Hill was visited. And it was interesting that at that time, the small grays that came into my home implanted me with something. Whatever it is they implanted me with would make me vomit nightly for about 10, 15 years. And when the vomiting stopped is when everything started happening. So the implant fused into my central nervous system, and in fact, it is what's telling me that these extraterrestrials are here.
Wow. Well, I thank you so much for being so open and so involved with this, because it's amazing to me. I mean, when you hear, people involved with the government, police officers.
No, they're all lying. They don't want you to know the truth.
Well,
I mean, it's all a big snow job. They're lying.
Who are willing to risk it and say, yes, we did see this.
It's so predictable, their actions. They're going to deny everything till the end.
Yeah, and then it's okay. Well, we're going to have to take that one out of a job. So, I just admire your work. I really, truly do. And I appreciate listening to you tonight. I really do.
Well, thank you. Thank you for listening to WHAN.
You got it. Thank you, KB.
Hey, anytime, no doubt. I'll tell you what, this guy is fascinating. Like I said, tonight, for a few minutes, we went out, and he set a couple little camera up, and the things that he caught, and he said, KB, look in the air. And I looked up, and he saw it, and I saw it, and I was like, wow. Now, if he's been implanted and they're following him around, I got to let them know one thing. I'll be taking him back later this week, and you guys up there, make sure you follow him back the way he came from. I mean, either that, send him over to Calvin's, and Calvin can deal with it.
Thanks, Katie.
Ain't no problem. Yeah, and hey, we were talking about like the cover-ups, and we're talking about the government knows things, but the government is not going to admit it. I mean, and we all know this. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to know.
It's a need-to-know basis, and they believe that the people of America are not ready for this.
Yeah, I don't think.
Even though Hollywood is giving us all these movies that deal with extraterrestrial themes, they think we're not, in reality, ready to deal with the fact that aliens are here.
He was talking earlier today, and he was talking about a date. He's going to correct me if I'm wrong. We were talking about the movie, when it came out, when it happened, and it coincided with things that happened to you basically years later at what? Basically the same thing?
In the same locations, and it was kind of ironic that the initial incursion at the U.S. Capitol building was July 16, 1952, and my encounter at the U.S. Capitol building was July 16, 2002, 50 years later, exactly 50 years later, and the location in which I documented my objects were the exact same location as 1952. So without a doubt, they let us know they're back, and they've never gone away.
They haven't gone away. And, like I said, they're out there. Something's going on, but the government's not going to let us know about it. And Wilbur's here to not just talk that talk. He can validate and back up
show you the
everything.
data.
And show you data, show you footage. He's just not talking it. Like some of the guys get here and they talk it, and they can't back it up. He's got the videos. You name it, he's got it. He can back up what he's talking about. So he's not telling us anything that he cannot back up.
It's all dealt with specifically on the forensic application, and without a doubt, with the forensic data that's available, it shows that there is a credible factor associated to the UFO phenomena in the United States.
And I tell you what, like I said, we talked about it earlier about the astronauts have come out and said that we are being followed. They were followed in space while they were circling the moon. They seen them out their windows. And then something like he was talking about today, now they got a new weapon out. I didn't even know this, and I usually know a little bit about weapons. Carried one for many years. They have a laser gun that actually shoots a victim or suspect, if need be, with a laser, and it penetrates you just like
it kills you.
Yeah,
It'll kill you.
just
It's
like a
It's
bullet.
a surgical scalpel. It's essentially a surgical scalpel. That's a laser, but they're using it for a military weapon application.
And like I said, and who would think? And you know, where did we get our technology in the last 30 years? I mean, look at it. I mean, from cell phones and how fast they didn't change and the technology and some of the equipment and space, and as well as the stealth bombers that technology where they can't even pick them up.
The concept in Star Trek of the Borg, for example, we are essentially that character, the Borg. We assimilated crashed alien technology, and we are indeed using the remnants of crashed alien technology and the technology that we have today.
When that crash happened in Roswell, a lot of people don't know, but there's an Area 52. And that's on a hush-hush. Not that many people know about it.
Well, it's interesting. I found Sedona, Arizona, to be exactly like Area 51. In fact, what I documented in Sedona was initially documented in Area 51. So there is a connection.
Yeah, back in the day when at Roswell, they alleged, the government said at first it was a crashed UFO. Then the next day they recanted, said no, it was a hot air balloon. But yet there's pictures of a soldier that had a silver-like substance in his hand, and he said he could ball this substance up just like you do tin foil. And the next thing you know, he shows where he's opening up, and it's just like it's never been wrinkled. I mean, is that some type of technology? And they say hieroglyphics that were found on certain items that were picked up that disappeared. What's your thought on that?
Well, a lot of it, indeed, since we don't really know the truth of the matter, but we can see without a doubt that our advancements in terms of technological advancements took leaps and bounds in a relatively short period of time. And that's only because the data and information that they got to create that technology was taken from crashed extraterrestrial spacecraft.
Yeah, and it's like you said, when they talked about this silver object, it was like back then, they didn't have tinfoil back then.
No.
And they knew nothing about it. So, then again, I go, I'm getting the bonus little box, and where do we get the technology to learn about tinfoil? I mean, and, saran wraps that we can ball up and open back up and reuse, so.
It's similar, but not quite the same, because we don't have the level of technology and the advancements in terms of chemistry and metallurgical applications like the extraterrestrials do. And we're close, but we're not anywhere near it in terms of the realities of the matter.
What do you think that the aliens are, if they're among us now, and why do you think they're here? Do you think it's our fates something's going to happen, or they're trying to warn us, or just like the movie said, if you build this bomb, and you could destroy yourself, we'll come back and destroy you, and don't worry about it. You think maybe they're here or something like that? What do you think?
Well, first, I think they know that if we have a bomb, we will destroy ourselves, and indeed, we're doing that in our overall actions, and we could see that what's happening in the Middle East. So, I think that we're just being held in the dark. The truth of the matter is that on a nightly basis, on a daily basis, that we're being visited by extraterrestrials, and nobody's talking about it.
You're right about that. And I tell you what, a lot of people say, well, they go outside at nighttime, they see UFOs, and a lot of them are caught right in broad daylight. In broad daylight, UFOs have been seen, and of course the government's going to say it was
But they sugarcoat it, and they never tell you about it. I mean, they'll have a report one day, and 2 days later, you'll hear nothing about it.
Never hear nothing about
Nothing. It's old news.
Right, and they do cover-ups. They talked about a USO, a submerged object, in the waters off of. If I'm correct, he's going to tell me. I think in New Jersey or somewhere like that. It was on the news. They talked about it, and next thing you know, the next night they recant. It wasn't. It was something else.
Well, they have to do that because they know that if they start reporting things that are critical, like an alien landing, it's going to make things not so comfortable for us because people have a way of becoming insecure and we react a certain way. If an alien does land, the first thing you to do is grab your gun.
Yeah. Now, did somebody make a statement or I might have dreamed it that a UFO did land in D.C. at one time and it was covered up? Have you heard anything about that?
Well, I can say that based on what I photographed at the U.S. Capitol building July 16, 2002, the UFO landed on the Capitol itself, and I got pictures of it.
And I tell you what, a lot of people don't realize that we talk about the stealth, where it can go on the radar and it cannot be detected. what says as technology can land something and we cannot detect it? By our
we
eyes?
can detect it when they manifest into our airspace, but before they manifest into our airspace, they're completely undetectable.
Now, some of these ships that you've photographed and videotaped, why is it? How do you think they can get from point A to point B with like we have to have rocket fuels to push and to go?
Stargate technology.
Stargate technology, like fusion or something like this.
It's Stargate technology, essentially. I mean, we have to use the examples what we're fed these examples, and Stargate SG-1 was one of the shows that we were fed, and indeed that is a reality because those wormholes that they presented in that TV show are being used by extraterrestrials right now to enter into our airspace.
To enter into our airspace.
They enter into our airspace.
I'll tell you what, we got a bill to be paid, and don't go anywhere, don't touch a dial. We'll be back right after this.
Don't go away, stay right there for more of Paranormal Talk Radio with KB, brought to you each week by Kevin Shork, attorney at law. Give us a call if you have questions for KB or our guest at 804-798-1010. Welcome back to more of Paranormal Talk Radio with your host KB, brought to you each week by Kevin Shork, attorney at law. And now, here's KB.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. I'm KB. Not only do we talk the talk, we walk the walk because we're Richmond investigators of the paranormal. And I tell you what, this is one fascinating show tonight. In the studio with me, Wilbur Allen, the #1 UFO researcher, paranormal investigator in the world. I mean, he's known all over the world. And he tells it just like it is. He's not going to sugarcoat it. He's going to tell it like it is. He's got evidence to back it up, and he does a fine job at it. And earlier we were talking about ETs and things like that. And I asked him a question to describe what an ET looks like. And the first thing that came to my mind, because I've been looking at Kelvin, and he's got that elongated neck, the big head, and the big eyes, and so I figured maybe Kevin could be an alien. You never know.
Well, I was going to ask him myself. Take a look at you there. I've kind of been watching you for about 3 weeks here, and I kind of wonder, are they short? ET short like that? Like taking a look at KB there?
That does not compute. Kelvin, phone home.
Yes, sir. Okay.
and like I said, I got my buddy right here beside me. He's looking at us like, is KB will jump up and go in and choke Kelvin again like he does, and Kelvin chokes me back. But it's all fun. We have a great time here at the studios.
Sure.
And we talk about ETs. Have you ever heard anybody say that they encountered an ET or were too ashamed to talk about it?
Well, there's a lot of people like that, but the problem is that they can't substantiate their findings. Somebody can tell you, I made contact with aliens, and it's based on their word. Now, if you show them you made contact with aliens, that's a little different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm showing you the fact these objects are here. That's different than me telling you they're here and making something up about them.
It was told to me a while back, and I talked about all kind of crazy stuff. We were talking about UFOs, and one guy said, well, a alien couldn't take the G-forces and things like that. He thought that the ships themselves might have been run by some type of robotic creature or something like that. I mean, I guess that could be possible, but
no, most of the craft that they did capture were the type of craft that were controlled through the mental capabilities of the pilot. They would have devices connected to them, and they essentially would control the ship internally by connecting into the ship itself, becoming part of the ship. And that's basically the technology that we're looking at right now.
Well, you just said something. I just thought about it. When you said that, we got technology now where a driver, and I've saw it on TV, where he can actually think about where he wants to go, and the vehicle will take you there. I mean, so, again, the technology is showing through what you just said.
It's being developed even more to this day, and indeed we have to look at the fact that most of the advancements that we do have and the advancements that we do have are extremely advanced, they have to be extraterrestrial in origin, or a part of some kind of extraterrestrial technology.
I'll tell you what, I'm so excited about to have him on the show tonight. And like I said, tomorrow night we will be at the Edgewood Plantation, and we'll be doing a paranormal investigation. I'll tell you a little bit of history about the place. This place has a young lady back in the 1800s. She was in love with this guy. History doesn't show exactly if her boyfriend was either killed at war because he never returned, or either did the father have a duel, they say, with him in Louisiana. So they're not sure, but she took her diamond ring that he gave her, and she engraved her name on the pane window upstairs. And this has been over almost 200 years ago, and etched in that glass was her name. And the legend is that she still walks that second floor, standing by the window, waiting for her lost lover to return. And the plantation itself has a lot of history and a lot of misery. It was during the Civil War between the states. A lot of people have died there. A lot of the people were abused mentally, physically, the whole 9 yards. And so, like I said, we'll be going out there tomorrow night doing the investigation. We're using equipment that makes my equipment look like candy. I mean, I'll be honest with you, and I'm okay with my equipment, but when you got a guy like this that comes in with got space technology, and he's able to do things that my equipment can't do, I'm totally amazed with it. And we got about a minute left, and go ahead and tell us, people, make sure they can contact you or anything like that.
You can reach me at ufodc.com or ufodc at AOL. And definitely take a look at the website. There are 22 chapters in my website, over 80,000 photographs, which are not photoshopped. They are indeed forensic applications in terms of I was able to connect the dot and show you that one spacecraft looks like another spacecraft, and I've got a series of objects that all look the same, so we can say that indeed it is a reality. But take a look at ufodc.com. Check out my YouTube channel, which is Wilbur Allen's YouTube channel. And you've got to subscribe to it to see the information that we've got.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad you came to the studio tonight, Wilbur Allen, getting also on YouTube.
Thanks for having me.
On YouTube. It's been my pleasure. It's been fun tonight. We'll see you next week right here on Paranormal Talk Radio. I'm KB.
Thank you for joining us tonight for Paranormal Talk Radio, brought to you each week by Kevin Shork, attorney at law. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week.
The program you've been listening to is a paid program. The opinions expressed in the material presented does not reflect the opinion of WHAN Radio, its advertisers, its staff, management, nor any member of Fifth Estate Broadcasting, LLC.